In a small but bustling tailor's shop, the hum of a sewing machine fills the air. Madame Bimpe, the tailor, is busy cutting fabric when her client, Mrs. Adebayo, storms in. Mrs. Adebayo bursts in, exclaiming, Madame Bimpe, this is what you're doing? This is how you treat your customers." Madame Bimpe looks up, surprised, and responds, "Good afternoon, Mrs. Adebayo. What happened? Is everything all right?" Waving her hand in frustration, Mrs. Adebayo retorts, "How can everything be all right? You promised me my asoebi would be ready by today. The wedding is tomorrow. And look at the time now, I have not received any call from you. Are you planning to embarrass me?" Madame Bimpe rises slowly from her stool and says, Take it easy, Ma. I'm almost done. Just give me a few more hours. I'm even working on the finishing touches now. It's not as if I forgot." Mrs. Adebayo crosses her arms. "A few more hours? Do you know how long it took me to find this fabric? The bride will be wearing blue and gold, and you want me to show up late looking like a mess?" Sighing, Madame Bimpe replies, "I understand the urgency, but you know this week has been packed with other clients' orders. It's not just you, Ma, but I promise you'll look stunning tomorrow. Just calm down." Mrs. Adebayo's voice rises. "Calm down? After paying you a deposit 3 weeks ago? I should be relaxing now, not worrying if I'll even have something to wear tomorrow." Softening her tone, Madame Bimpe says, "I understand your frustration, Mrs. Adebayo, but you know, tailoring is not easy. Sometimes the fabric doesn't behave. The machine will even start doing its own thing. But I will not let you down." Mrs. Adebayo raises her eyebrows. "So you're telling me that after 3 weeks it's the fabric's fault? Or is it your machine that cannot sew straight? How about, Madame Bimpe, let's be serious." A bit defensive, Madame Bimpe replies, "It's not like that, Ma. I'm just saying there are challenges. But I always deliver, Abby. Have I ever disappointed you before?" Mrs. Adebayo pauses, thinking, no, but this is different. This wedding is not just any event. If I show up in something incomplete or wrong, it will be the talk of the whole Lagos." Nodding, Madame Bimpe says, "I understand, Ma. I've already put in extra effort on your outfit because I know how important this is. Just give me until 7 p.m. I'll bring it to your house myself." Mrs. Adebayo, still fuming but softening slightly, asks, 7 p.m. you say?" Madame Bimpe confirms, "Yes, Ma, 7 p.m. sharp. If it's not ready by then, I will even refund you, but trust me, it will be perfect." Grudgingly, Mrs. Adebayo responds, "Okay. I'll hold you to your word, oh. If not, you'll hear from me tomorrow." Smiling, Madame Bimpe assures, "Don't worry, Ma, you'll love it. I'll make sure you shine brighter than the bride." Mrs. Adebayo smiles faintly. "You better. I'll be waiting." Mrs. Adebayo exits the shop with a final glance at the fabric. Madame Bimpe sighs in relief, quickly returning to her work, determined to meet the deadline. End scene.